next, moment or so. Let's just hit a little refresh on the stream. All right, folks. We are live on Twitch, on YouTube, and this is a very fun reunion, I guess you could say, episode of, I guess this is the first episode of TJPOD Live.
Absolutely.
And what better first guest to have than the great Alec Hoelker, who was with me for probably the first and only film Democracy that we are probably ever going to do. But we had a great time. Right. And basically we did it about the movie that came out before this film, Spectre, which is
Yep.
So it's only fitting that we come back together and do a review for the newest James Bond flick, No Time to Die, which just came out this past weekend.
Absolutely.
And we're going to go into some spoilers on this film for sure. I mean, it's been out for what, a few days now, almost a
4
week.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 days, 5 days. So it's like, I think it's about time we can spoil it comfortably.
Maybe
But
not comfortably, but if you're listening to it now,
right,
why are you even tuning in?
Especially when I put in the only reason I say comfortably is because in the title I put spoiler reviews, so it's like
there we go. So
it's pretty clear.
Haven't seen it yet?
Yeah,
there's the exit.
Right
button is in the top right. But yeah, it's glad to be here, TJ. Appreciate you having me. Only fitting. I texted you. I was like, I'm seeing it Monday. We talked about Spectre. We got to talk about No Time to Die.
Of course. And dude, yeah, as soon as you hit me up, I was thinking about hitting you up actually, because I was like, I want to see this movie, and I was like, I don't know if Hulk will be down, but you said you're always down, so I'm like, you're down. So
always down.
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched our video we did on Spectre today. I listened to it just so I could kind of get, just kind of remember what our thoughts were on the film, but thinking about it was funny because we talked about this movie, and I had said I thought this movie was going to be really bad, and yeah, I said that. I was like, I think this is going to be bad because I just the trailer looked like really it just didn't look that interesting, and the fact that it had been delayed so many times, and there was 4 or 5 different rewrites that they had to do, I think, on this thing. I mean, it was crazy the amount of damage control they had to do because of the pandemic, and it's crazy, which we'll get into, just the coincidence of this film and the pandemic. But but anyway,
that's actually, I'm on Google right now. It's literally the first thing is people also ask, is No Time to Die ever going to be released? And of course the pandemic talks about that probably previous director leaving the film. So yeah, no, I was looking forward to this one. This was one of the COVID delayed films, and I wonder, what did I say, TJ? Do you remember what I said? I think I was
you were looking forward to it, and I was just kind of like, it doesn't really look that interesting, and I was saying we need to just straight up end this series altogether, because I was like, you know what, it just doesn't it doesn't feel like they really want to tell Bond. It just didn't feel like they were going in the direction they originally had wanted to go in. They were going for that harder edge Bond, and then it kind of got really silly in Spectre at times. And the story was a mess. But I will say, before we get into the film, this movie was much better than Spectre, in my opinion. I thought this was much better than that. But at the same time, I wasn't that blown away with this, if I'm being honest. Yeah. I thought it was okay, just off the bat before we get into the spoilers. But I thought it was okay. I thought there was really good things in this movie, and a lot of things that made me think, oh man, this is a James Bond film. But this just didn't feel like a Bond film. That's my biggest complaint with it. Even Spectre felt more like a Bond film than this did. This just felt like a really good spy movie that just had a male protagonist. It didn't it felt like a off-brand Bond, even more so than On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is not even an official Bond film, but is a Bond film. So I don't know. What did you think about this movie? Just some quick thoughts before we actually get into the plot.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was expecting it to be heavily like romantic driven. Of course, we know Madeline from probably Spectre, and I think she was even in Quantum of Solace. I could be wrong with that one, but she was kind of in the trailer as well. Expecting her to be a big part of it, but immediately when Daniel Craig tells her to GTFO, I was kind of pumped, and then immediately he's already back in London.
Right.
Shit's hitting the fan pretty quick. I was a big fan. I was head over heels. I was edge on the seat. A lot of action. A lot of, good fight scenes too. Like, I was impressed. Daniel Craig still got it. Daniel Craig is, what is he? He's got to be 53.
Yeah. He's
53. He's still got it. Still looks good. He's still got the best cribs. I don't know how he finds his Airbnbs in wherever he is in Europe, somewhere in Greece at the top of the Acropolis, or in God knows where in the Caribbean. But he's got the best taste of Airbnbs, and he's still got it. I was a big fan. I think this was probably one of the best ways to go out for Daniel Craig. That video that was trailing around social media of him on his last set. That got me emotional, and I know one of my coworkers, she watched that, and like, she's not a big movie buff, but after she's a big Daniel Craig fan, and after she watched that little social media clip of his last scene, she got teared up, and she's like, I gotta see this movie too. And she's not a big movie girl, so definitely a big fan, and sad to see. Well, I'm not gonna say anything, but yeah, no, I was a big fan. I was happy for it.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of what you said, but once we get into the story here, I'll kind of start to break down the things that really bother me about this movie, because I don't agree with what you said about the ending of the film, but we'll get into it. So this is the final spoiler warning. We have reached the spoiler cliff. So are you going to jump off the cliff or into spoiler land, or are you going to stay in non-spoiler land? So in other words, have you seen the movie or not, or do you care? Or is the question. That's the real question. So spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. All right. So we start off with this movie with a cold open. We get the James Bond iconic shoot through the deal, the bullet hole or whatever you call that. And you open to this cold open with, we get a young Madeline Swan who, her and her mother are, I guess cooped up in this house out in the middle of this beautiful landscape. I think where is it? In like Austria or something? Who knows?
It's somewhere.
Yeah.
They're both French, so I was kind of thinking somewhere.
Maybe in France,
northern France, but it's cold.
Yeah. Right.
Nice house, though.
So, yeah, they're cooped up there, and next thing you know, this person walks in with a mask on. Not like, the mask, but like a weird animal mask. Like, I don't even know what kind of animal it was, but it doesn't really matter. He comes in with this mask on, and basically he starts like, he walks in and like what happens? Like he basically like comes in and like, does he immediately kill the mother like immediately off the bat?
Immediately.
Yeah. He like immediately shoots her. Like, is that the first thing he does, or does he not? Does he like? I feel like I think he just walks in and shoots her.
No, he walks in. He explains his reasoning. You can't really understand him too with that mask. But then he just absolutely murders her. And that was the thing about this movie too. A lot of people getting murdered left and right.
Right, a lot of death.
Not like casually, but people getting annihilated.
Yeah, brutally killed.
A lot of innocent. But yeah, so it starts off with a nice murder, and then immediately, baby Madeline tries to run away. Of course, note to self: never run out on a frozen lake, especially if you already see that it's cracking. But of course, she does, because she doesn't understand, the situation. Falls through, and we kind of have a feeling this is going to come up in the future reference, which it does.
Now, the thing about with this scene that I thought was just really silly off the bat is Madeline immediately knows how to fire a gun and just like just caps him right in the face. Like,
talk about.
I feel like she didn't even know, like, because like I think her mother like explains to her that like her father like was a murderer. Like I feel like she didn't know that off the bat. Like I feel like that was kind of kept from her childhood. Like I don't know, maybe it wasn't, but like I feel like that was kind of implied that like she didn't really know like what her father was actually doing until later on.
But she knows how. But
she knows
how to
now,
fire a
but
gun.
like late, at that point. So it was like kind of strange that she like, and then, not let alone like a girl that young getting firearms training. Just like, I don't know, even if her dad's like a criminal, I guess I don't know. It just felt kind of strange, but like even
she was definitely in the age range of like 7 to 10.
and then and she's carrying this dead body, and then he like wakes up, which we all knew he was gonna get up, but
right.
Yeah,
the carrying of the dead body was pretty interesting as well. I was
yeah.
like, wait a minute.
I was like,
did she really do?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of silly.
Like, where was she gonna take it? I was so confused. I was like, where are you going?
Yeah, it was really silly, and then she goes in the water like you said, and she drowns almost, right? But then he gets a change of heart. Mask guy gets a change of heart and fires his gun in there and gets her out. And then we cut to we cut back to Bond and Madeline, and remember they're in that Roman, I don't know if it's Rome or like some city like that.
So it's I look it up. It's Materia. It's southern Italy.
Okay, yeah. So
beautiful city.
Right. So they're in southern Italy, and basically they're like up on that balcony, and they have like the paper, and they're setting it on fire, and like basically it was like, like I think they ask like what is it for? Like why are they burning the paper? And they're like, well, it's to burn your past away, or whatever. The secrets, that's what it is. To burn your secrets away. And it was just like, so then like it leads into, and it's kind of interesting how it's like, the idea of like giving up, things that are lingering, it giving up your, secrets, I guess, in a way. 'Cause it's like this movie just kind of like, it's symbolic for this film in a way, because they're burning away the the old guard of James Bond. It feels like
which
they're trying.
Honestly, I like this part because it ties into Casino Royale, Vesper.
Yes,
it goes to Vesper's tomb.
Yes, and it sets up for that. Yeah,
which I was a big fan of. Very coincidence. You're like, all right, of course they gotta tie everything kind of back in. I guess he's still very upset about Vesper, which at the end of the day, Vesper kind of threw him under the bus, so the fact that he was still upset about it, I was a little confused.
She kind of sold him out.
Right, she sold him out, but then immediately he just gets blown away, which I was caught off guard, and I was still thinking about it today. I was like, who put that bomb there? Was it Spectre? Or was it our Rami Malek friend?
Yeah.
I was a little confused by that.
Well, Blofeld admits later in the film that he put it there. Because he's like, I knew you'd come back and look for Vesper or whatever, in that scene when it's like we'll get to it later, but he does admit that, but I get why you would say that, because it is kind of like...
I think I was dozing off.
And you also see well, before the bomb blows up at her grave, you see the logo for Spectre. You see it on the little card, and then he gets it. As soon as he gets it, it blows up in his face. Which, again, Bond takes like no blast damage at all from the bomb. That was literally like 2 seconds, 2 feet from him.
He has to be concussed this entire
movie. And not only that, he goes into this intricate chase scene where you figure out that basically Spectre wants Bond dead, for whatever reason. Well, actually, this takes place right after Spectre, right? This scene.
So he's still probably... Spectre's still around.
Yeah, he's still on the run from then, so fair. But so he basically goes, and they have a really fantastic chase scene through the streets.
Always.
Oh yeah, this film has incredible action, even better than Spectre, which is why I think this is a lot better than Spectre, because Spectre was really boring. Like, this is just really long and drawn out. It's at least got something going for it. Like, Spectre was just... It got really silly at times too, like this.
The action of this was incredible.
Yeah, the action and the action got silly. I mean, remember that scene that we went crazy about, where he falls from the building and lands on the couch or whatever? We were just like, this is getting into camp. Right. At least this movie tried to ground it a little bit more. Like, I'll give it that. But
of course, he's causing havoc in the nice little cute little Italy towns.
Right, he's running through there,
riding motorcycles, through funerals, everything like that. But awesome scene, especially switching up some miniguns in the car, absolutely annihilating some people in some fist fights.
Yeah,
Great.
but then what happens is he directly runs back home and confronts Madeline, and he's like, "Did you do this? Like, did you sell me out to Spectre?" Because he knew she had ties to Spectre. You know, she was Mr. White's daughter. Remember Mr. White, the dude that was in the basement that died in the last movie?
That's right.
Yeah, she was his daughter, and this is why it's helpful. I went back and watched the other one because I was like, I don't even remember what happened in Spectre, and I watched it 3 months ago.
That makes sense.
So it's
okay.
Yeah, so she is
who Mr. White was
right.
but,
Mr. White was the guy who worked for Blofeld and Spectre. He was the guy that like was basically that set off all the events of the last movie. But
Gotcha.
yeah, they basically he blames her for that. He blames Madeline, and he basically is
Kisses
like,
her goodbye.
yeah, he basically sends her packing. He's like, look, I don't trust you. You probably sold me out. You know, and she already admitted to him that she had secrets that she was going to tell him. And, you know, there, just a lot of sus behavior from her early in the film, but you know, it kind of, it becomes a little bit more justified.
She's like, I'm not going to tell you mine until you tell me yours,
right,
until you finish your stuff. And you're like, all right, well, this is a one-sided street, Madeline. You can't play this game.
Right.
So I would have put it on her as well. I would have been like, yeah, you definitely threw me under the bus again.
Right.
And
yeah.
Of course, poor Bond just getting, backstabbed by all these women.
Yeah.
Maybe that's really testament of time. You know, Sean Connery, Peter Brosnan. You know, these guys weren't getting backstabbed by the women.
They were not.
Were loving them.
No.
Now it's switching it up.
Yeah, they were loving them. Not only were they loving them though, it was always because to service the story as well, because like, you know, they were always getting information out of these women. Like, it wasn't like done as a way to exploit them. Like, that's the thing that like gets misconstrued with the old Bond movies. And if you actually went back and watched them, like most of the people that hate on the old Bond movies have never even watched them. But, you know, a lot of it is not, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, it's
a mix. It's a mix.
I mean, there's definitely movies that I'm sure that they do. I haven't seen every one of them, but the ones that I've seen, like, you know, it's always done, you know, for an ends to a means. It's never because, you know, simply just to exploit women. It's done, you know, almost as an interesting way to get exposition out. Like, these women, a lot of the Bond women, they give a lot of the plot, you know, through dialogue. And, you know, if there wasn't that, you know, sexual tension in those scenes, then you wouldn't really be that interested in just dialogue dumps. And that's almost what this movie falls into, some of those problems, but not as much, honestly, as some of the other ones like Spectre, but, or even Quantum of Solace, but,
you make a good point though.
But it was never like really as exploitative, I think, as, you know, revisionist history likes to claim it is. But, anyway, but with Bond, he sends her on the train. And the interesting thing that I noticed, I want to point this out now since we're in spoiler land. The thing that I found interesting about this is you actually see her hold her stomach as she's on the train, as a little visual storytelling to show you that she's pregnant.
Really?
Yes. And I noticed it, and that's when I realized Bond was going to have a kid. I knew it. Yeah. I'm like, and especially when it went 5 years, I'm like, wait a minute. I kind of like saw what they were doing visually. And it was a really smart little like visual foreshadowing that like most people would just not even notice. And I bet if you go back and watch the film, you'll know exactly. It's like when she's on the train, I think she like actually holds her stomach. I think it's that scene. But yeah, whoever's idea that was, shout out to them. Good idea.
Good catch.
But I caught that. Cary Fukunaga.
There you go.
Which, by the way, this film is directed by Cary Fukunaga, who I guess we could talk about him at the end, but
I'll look at
and the writers, because there's a committee of them, and you can tell in this movie that it's written by committee. Like, that's the thing that I definitely noticed. Like, every scene kind of felt like it was written by somebody else. You know, it felt like there was multiple rewrites on this film. And it's just, you know, absolutely. I guess part of it, but you know, you could definitely feel that, because like some of the dialogue just felt like, you know, you could feel like different personalities coming out of it. Like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I think she did writing on this film. She's doing the new Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, she really?
Yeah. She did rewrites on this. And you can tell, like, because, you know, you can definitely tell it has like that quirky, like British humor that she's known for, like in some of these scenes, like, and we'll talk about them. But nevertheless, the point being, moving on to, we get after this moment where he leaves her, We get the opening credits with the Billie Eilish song.
Oh yeah,
I liked the song when I first heard it,
bad.
but in the context of the film, it's not really as exciting as some of the other ones, like some of the classics like Skyfall and the one from Diamonds Are Forever, and
Spectres was good.
yeah, Spectres was pretty good. It's just like, I don't know, it was definitely like a very moody like Billie Eilish track, and I like some of her music. Like, I'm not like a hater, but it was just like, I don't know. Her vibe definitely fit. It just was, the song was just kind of weak in my opinion, and the melody for it just was not really that exciting for like the final Bond movie. It just felt very like and dreary. Like, and that's her vibe. I get that, but like, I could have used a little bit more oomph in it for it being a final Bond film. You know, it just felt very vapid.
Definitely got to be trend setting, so they keep with it with Adele, and then bring in Billie Eilish. Honestly, I always get distracted by these intro scenes because they have so many things going on with the bullets,
Right.
DNA connecting, which I was like, whoa, that's cool. Of course, the image of James Bond, times arms are ticking, and of course,
Yeah.
James Bond and Madeline can't reach each other because the clocks are ticking.
Yeah, that was a cool visual. Yeah, the visual was really cool.
Right. So I always get distracted with those
Yeah.
in a good way, I think. But shout out to Billie Eilish. She's making her way.
Yeah. I liked her album a lot. I think it actually made my top 10 of last year.
Oh yeah.
But anyway,
I didn't take a look at that.
We go 5 years.
It goes right into.
Yeah, we go 5 years later here. 5 years later, we get MI6 scientist. Oh yeah, this is right. I was trying to figure out where we were.
Oberchov.
Yeah, Oberchov. So he gets kidnapped from this laboratory. Now, the thing about this that I thought was interesting was he just planted there as like an undercover op, I guess, by Rami Malek, or because we know he eventually reveals that he works for Rami Malek, because at first you think he works for Spectre.
Yeah, I thought he was just like a Spectre, and then I think everybody kind of knew, just like it was inside Spectre scoop, that there was this other guy. Like, some people of Spectre were working with Safin, Rami's character.
Yeah.
And then that's why he called him like right when it was happening, which love office bicker in this little scene.
Yeah.
But this is more examples of people absolutely just getting like murdered, like no really like hiding it.
It's so funny how like reckless these people are when they raid this bio laboratory. Like, they literally just walk in with machine guns and they're just like, we will literally shoot everything in here. But it's like, if you do that, then everybody's gonna die. It's like, you know what I mean?
I teach bloodborne pathogens classes, and I'm like, oh my god, this is. I mean, everybody has face masks on at least, and they got the gowns, but holy shit, yeah, they do not care at all.
No,
and they're been like bioweapons. They're tossing grenades.
Oh yeah, especially later in the film too. I was just like watching it, like, what? I'm like, I feel like they should be more cautious. Like, and also like the whole main plot point of them bombing or sending missiles at it. Just that we'll get to that too. But I thought that was silly. But
of course, somebody on the inside creates this bioweapon,
right? And
AKA it's MI6.
Yep, Project Heracles. And Obertrev is the one that is basically behind this. And basically what this thing is it's not really a virus, because like it's not alive. It's basically microscopic nanobots that get into your bloodstream and destroy your cells.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a robot.
Classic.
Which obviously creates a giant plot hole towards the end of the film. Which we'll get into of the EMP watch. But with this, we get the Project Heracles. It's basically this MacGuffin, the bioweapon that's introduced, and they basically get him. What happens after? Oh yeah, that's right.
They take him out of there.
Yeah, they take him out of there, and then is it who takes him? Is it the Spectre, right? They take him, because then that's what causes the CIA to go after him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they think, but
it's also that one guy that was fighting Bond in the
forest.
Italy. So yeah, you think?
Oh no, yeah, you're right. It's the one-eyed guy. He's the one that takes him. The guy with the bionic eyeball.
But he's still with Spectre in a sense, but I think he's working double side.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. Like,
he's
some
tricking
people are with
Spectre. What happens is he's tricking Spectre because he wants Spectre to believe that he's working for Spectre, but really he's using he's really working for Rami Malek. And I feel like they didn't do a very good job of explaining that in the film, because it just like, I kind of had to like piece it together, just like as I was like going back through the story. I just like was like, wait a minute, like, how does that?
That's the movie Henchman.
Yeah, I'm like, is he like? I'm like, oh, okay, so he works for Rami Malek. Okay, that makes sense. He was going undercover to infiltrate Spectre, which you realize why later, when he kills them all. But yeah, basically, he gets kidnapped, and then we cut to Bond in Jamaica. He's gone rogue at this point, 5 years after leaving Madeline on the train, and he's just chilling there, boozing, doing his thing
as always.
And he's hit up by Felix, and Felix basically calls him, Felix Leiter, I think his name is. He calls him, and basically like it's Felix and the other like CIA agent that you just he basically is like C from Spectre. If you remember C, the villain in Spectre, he was the guy that basically was like trying to create that mass surveillance state. This guy is basically like C 2.0, because like you knew right off the bat this dude was gonna turn on Bond. You knew it was coming. It was almost a guarantee. And and that's the thing. Like, it's like it's just you knew right off the bat, but it still led into a really good scene.
It didn't take long, either.
Right?
Like for him.
He was like, I'm a huge fan, and it's like, how are you a huge fan of a undercover agent? He's supposed to be like, no one's supposed to know who Bond is, and like this guy's all of a sudden a fan. I mean, I guess he's in the intelligence circle, so
it was cheesy. I mean, of course, I bet he heard probably stories from Felix, back in the day, which of course ties back into. Like, I really wanted to watch Casino Royale because,
dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna want to watch this again.
You see Felix, playing the cards and ends up helping Bond out at the end of the day. But yeah, this was a good throwback. But of course,
a good connection.
Cheesy weenie. That's why I was like, there's the weenie of the movie.
Yep, we know this guy's gonna go bad.
And he does. It
doesn't
take long.
Doesn't take long.
This introduces us to the new 00, the new 007.
That's right. Because basically, not yet, because Felix calls him and he says no at first, and then eventually, he runs into the new 007 that night.
Weren't they all at the bar? I feel like
that's right. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. They meet at the bar, and then that's where he runs into her. That's where he runs into Nomi, the new 007.
Bond, you're thinking Bond's about to hook up with this chick, and then she's like, "Nope, I'm the new 00." Boom, roasted.
Right, and like the thing with this character was like a lot of people, have been up in arms. Like, how can there be, somebody else playing 007? Like, but I think, this character, the way they portrayed her in the trailer, I was just kind of like, I don't know, this. I'm like, she was like, with the whole thing, like, I'll put the bullet in your knee and all that. I'm like, okay, this is like, is Bond just gonna get stomped on by all the side characters the whole movie? Like, but it didn't turn out that way.
No,
she actually turned out to be really likable, and I actually liked the little arc they made. I wish they would have done a little bit more with it and kind of committed to it more, because if you're going to introduce it at all, you might as well just go in on it. But like, I just, I thought the character was fine. And that's the thing. It's like whoever made the trailers for this film, they need to go, man, because the marketing team was terrible for this movie. They made this movie seem like it was going to be an absolute disaster. And it actually was pretty good.
I think, if anything, I do remember talking about how they put all the best scenes in that trailer. That's why I think I might have been worried about.
And
that.
None of the good, and that's the thing with this movie. None of the good scenes are in the trailer.
That's right.
All the good scenes are actually in the movie. So they learn their lesson from Spectre. That's why I think this movie is better than Spectre. Like, the people are saying it's around Spectre or it's not as good as Spectre. I disagree. I think this is definitely better than that. But
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
But yeah, you meet this new character, and then she's like basically trying to seduce Bond in a way, but she's not very good at it. She like, Bond knows what she's up to immediately, but he's like obviously down, but then she flips the script on him, and then he realizes, oh wait, yeah, you're right, you're an agent. And then like,
yeah. Next thing you know, she was kind of pissed that he was already working with the CIA instead of working with MI6. But of course, he's like, you know what? I'll help an old friend out. Helps out Felix, which.
Well, the thing is, he decides to help the CIA. He wasn't going to help the CIA at first, but her visiting him makes him want to, because he gets that sense of competition where he's like, I can't, he's like, I got to do, I got to show her up. She's talking that smack. I gotta show her up.
He was also pissed at M for having a bioweapon,
right?
Which makes sense. Like,
dude, we will get to that because what they did with M really pissed me off in this movie, more so than even the last movie where they made him just clueless. In this movie, they just made him straight up evil and didn't even give him any sort of repercussions. Anyway, he meets with her, and then he eventually is like, all right, well, I gotta show her up. I'm gonna go do this with the CIA with Felix. So they go to Cuba. And they meet, and this is where we get the scene with Ana de Armas, where she shows up as the,
so hot,
the CIA agent. Yes, she's lovely, but
big fan.
Yeah, this scene was really fun, and it just this was the most Bond scene out of the entire film. Like, this felt like a Bond scene, and like I've said, absolutely. This movie doesn't feel like a Bond movie. This at least felt like a Bond moment, the suit, the tux, and the dress, and then the action. And she was just, very like quirky and fun. And like, I like the idea of like, oh, this is my first time. I just was like, my problem with the whole thing was like, where does this go? Like, what does this actually have to do with the story? Like, I feel like a lot of these missions just could have been Bond solo missions. Like, and it was just funny watching like a girl in a dress and high heels who's probably like 5'3", beating up 3 like 6'5" like henchmen.
She held her own, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, that was hilarious. I mean, you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is another chick scene, but no, she was really just getting him dressed. Of course, Bond tosses on the tux. It looks absolute badass. There's more reason to be a big fan of Daniel Craig as James Bond, but they pull into kind of a Spectre party, which looked pretty awesome.
Yeah.
If you don't say, I was kind of pissed I didn't get that invite.
Yeah, and they basically go to this party to try and get Obatrev from Spectre. Yes. So they're going there, and basically they find out that Blofeld has been controlling Spectre from the inside of prison through basically living through a bionic eye.
Yeah. I didn't pick that up.
Well, I mean, very Bond, I will say, but like
bold move. I guess
it's a very Bond villain move, but like okay, but so they get this bionic eye, and basically they go to this thing and they're looking, and she spots Paloma spots the scientist Obatrev, and he's like basically walking up the thing with the briefcase, and they go after him. And I think they eventually capture him. Oh wait, that's right. No, before they capture him, Bond is like in the middle of like the dance floor or whatever, like in the middle of the floor. And basically, they recreate the scene from Spectre where the light shines on him, and you think, this is where Bond's gonna die, and then this is where it gets interesting, where the script flips, and what's his name? Blofeld gets kind of upended by Obatrev, because he flips the DNA in the bioweapon to kill. In the Heracles to basically kill all of the Spectre people instead of Bond and his allies. So probably everybody was like, what the hell's going on? Like, even Bond was like, what the hell's going on? Everybody's dying. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool, and kind of sets up, how crazy that weapon is.
Right.
And then really like, you see, that henchman, the one-eyed henchman. Whose side he's really on. Like, you think he's on Spectre, but then he's really not. But then this follows up, great fight scene as well. Like, probably one of the best. We got the young CIA girl, on top of 007, Nomi, and
Yeah.
Daniel Craig, all three having kind of their own separate fights, like not like a little bit of team up here and there with Paloma and Daniel and Bond.
Yeah.
But overall, so
yeah, and they
sick.
basically go to get
hell yeah.
Obatrev, yeah. And and then they eventually capture him before meeting up with Felix and the CIA agent. But then you realize that the CIA agent is actually working for Safin as well. He's also working for Safin, who is what's his name, Rami Malek. So you realize that, you know, both of these big key players in this situation are both flipped to a third party who was introduced in a mask in the first scene. So I like the ambiguity of that, because it's like you're like, okay, who are these guys working for? If they're not working for Spectre, and if they're not working for Bond, then who are they working for? I like the kind of little mystery they build here, but it doesn't last.
Very, very surprised that Bond and Felix. Well, of course, Felix, gets bullet to the belly, pretty useless. But I was expecting Bond to take that kid 10 out of 10 times. So,
yeah.
Downside of that, next time he'll get him, which, he does.
Right. So yeah, that's right. Because they get away, and basically Bond, he realizes that he's got to go back to MI6. He's got to go find. Yeah, he's got to go back to MI6 because the CIA have flipped on him. Wow, shocking. So Moneypenny and Q, he meets with them, and basically, they set him up with a meeting with Blofeld in the prison that Blofeld's locked in to try and find Obatrevs, because he's like, okay, Blofeld hired this guy, he must know where he is. So, basically they set that up, and then you get the scene with Madeline where she basically, because she's a psychiatrist, and they do mention that in Spectre actually. So that wasn't just like kind of out of nowhere. Because it would, if you hadn't seen Spectre, you would have saw that scene like, okay, she's a psychiatrist, like what the hell? But no, they actually do explain that in Spectre.
Okay, I missed that one.
But yeah, so she basically sits down with Safin, but I don't know. My thing was like, how does she happen to sit down with the guy that saved her life when she was a child? Which we'll get into like that whole thing, but like, so she basically meets with him, and he basically, gets her to put the nanobots on her hand, or, on her wrists, so that,
Blofeld,
she can, meet with Blofeld and kill him. And so, so basically she signs up to go into this meeting with Bond, and, then they go to the interrogation, and Bond, basically touches. They're gonna go in the elevator, and she's freaking out to meet Blofeld because she doesn't want to have to assassinate him. So she kind of sets Bond up, because she's like, I'm leaving, and he's like, don't leave, and he grabs her wrist, and when he grabs her wrist, that's where the nanobots were. She rubbed them on her wrists when she applied them, so when he touched that, he had the nanobots on his hand, and then we get this, half-baked Batman Joker interrogation scene that just wasn't earned enough to really work. But I feel like if Spectre was a better movie, then this scene probably would have been a lot more effective. Or if this was even a better movie. But, overall, I thought it was fine. And
you kind of were expecting that because we saw him in the trailer.
Yeah, so we knew Blofeld, and he had to, because he was an integral part of Spectre, so he had to have some sort of connection to, this whole deal.
I was kind of thinking he was going to live and just be around. Like, sometimes villains are, but no, not in the slightest.
No. Well, I think because, it's Craig's last movie. I think they're going to end up rebooting the franchise and putting a new Blofeld in there, I'm sure. So, but I mean, with this scene though, it was interesting though, because you kind of see him totally messing with Bond, like getting in his head, like, he's basically, because like the thing I didn't like about Blofeld was like that they just were like, oh yeah, he was responsible. You see all those other great movies in the franchise, Blofeld was responsible for all of that, and you just didn't know it until now. Like, I hate when movies and stuff, Marvel does that stuff all the time, and I hate that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's such a cheap way to write, because it's like, well, how come you didn't, set any of that up if that was really your intention? Like, you're just going back and retconning old stuff instead of actually setting it up naturally. Like, if they would have set it up from the start and had Blofeld, like, kind of even be briefly mentioned in conversation in some of the earlier films, then it would have been more earned when he eventually appears. But it's, same like when Marvel did it with Thanos, they did it right. They set him up, in those credit scenes.
So
you don't even have to do something like that, but like, simply just mentioning him in dialogue or mentioning him in the story. It just builds, the suspense of, okay, well, who is Blofeld? And they don't really do a good job of that in Spectre, so that when you get to this movie, he just kind of doesn't really fit at all in this film, like, as a villain. But yet again, they want him to because, he's in most of the movie, and Rami Malek, Safin, he doesn't really come into the movie until now. So it's like, and at this point we're already almost an hour and something into the movie. So it's like,
little light on him. They actually, I could have gotten more of him. I mean, Rami Malek is overall a great actor, too. So I think they definitely could have used him a lot more in this situation. But still, he kind of had that weird, backstory that so random that has to do with Spectre, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But very little. Like, we're like, all right, this guy he wants revenge.
Yeah.
Now he's killing the whole world.
Right. Yeah. It was.
All right.
Yeah.
That's why I was expecting M to be be bad. Like,
right.
Really,
and they were definitely setting that up, and it went nowhere. And I was like, what? Even with you got the big
Yeah.
desk, or if you gotten bigger, the desk. I'm like, okay, I like where this is going. Like, he's calling him out for being a big shot and being like a greasy politician, essentially. And basically
nothing.
You don't get anything from that. So it's like, yeah, it wasn't really earned. The whole thing they did with M in this film, even less so than in Spectre, which, they made him just a moron in that movie. But in this one, they just made him a straight up mass murderer. Like,
don't tell them something else.
And they only they address it in the film later on. But like, it's like in the scene with him and Bond. But it's like, still, you're like, dude, like, all they do is Bond. He just goes, I thought I was gonna help people. Well, it didn't, dude. Yeah. People are dead because of you. Like, and more people are gonna die. It was just silly. But anyway, we get Blofeld, the interrogation with Blofeld. Basically, Bond starts to lose it, and Blofeld admits that he blew up Vesper's tomb, and then and framed Madeline, and then basically Bond gets pissed off and tries to choke out Blofeld, and Blofeld just he dies because of the poison of the nanobots that was on his hand. It wasn't even because he actually like choked him out with force. It just, the nanobots killed him. And I like how they kind of cut back and Bond's like in the back room and he's like, calm down, like, and he like Bond's like, oh, like,
yeah.
And then like they cut back and Blofeld's just dead in the chair. Like, that was a really smart idea because it made it seem like they almost tricked you into thinking that he escaped somehow. That's what I officially. Yeah. That's what I like when they, because they it's like a delayed cut because like you see their reaction, they're like, and then you're like, oh man, is he gone? And then it cuts back and he's dead, and you're like, oh okay, yeah, right. So that was kind of a smart little. I actually didn't hate the end of that scene and the way Blofeld died. I just thought Blofeld as a character was just kind of blah. But then we got to Madeline. She dips after that, and she goes back to Norway. So it was Norway. That was the country. So yeah, we were close.
That's a good country.
Country. So they were in Norway, and basically Bond goes there to meet her, and that's when he meets his child, Matilda.
Casual.
Such a casual Bond child reveal. But yeah, we get Matilda, the reveal of Bond's child. And it's funny because Madeline pretty much tries to write off the fact that, like,
it's not hers.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is.
Yeah, but it is. It is Bond's. I don't know why she even lies to him about that. Like,
I don't know either. I mean, of course, it's a cute baby. I was a big fan. but not ideal to bring a kid into a James Bond movie.
No.
No, to say that, because then it's another distraction, of course.
Yeah.
Madeline, she can hold her own, but then when you bring in her kid, now she's got other things on her hands. But overall, great house, and quickly, I really kind of didn't understand the part when like 007 was tracking Gorbachev, and then he looks at his phone, and then he's like, "Oh, we gotta go." I missed that part, like who was being tracked. TJ, did you catch? You know what I'm talking about?
Not exactly. So you're saying, what are you saying about?
It's like right when the chase, like right before they get chased out of Norway by Safin's crew.
Oh, okay.
Because he was on the phone with Q, saying he needs a plane to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's like, "Oh yeah, like 007's already got Gorbachev, and he looks at the phone. And it's like the tracker is like,
oh, because he has the blood. He has the stuff in his blood, I think, and he can track him from that.
Okay, gotcha.
Because once once he rejoins MI6, he gets the blood, the thing shot in his neck, and he doesn't like react to it, but she does. The new 007, right. Which is just kind of a fun way to show that they were, different.
Yeah, that's
to show that she wasn't quite there yet, as being 007.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good one. I like that. But commence another awesome chase scene. I mean, unreal in the woods of Norway. As always, just demolishing. Cars are flying left and right. We got motorcycles coming out of nowhere. Of course, we get Weenie Hut Jr.'s coming in, and he just gets annihilated. Big fan of how he died. James Bond is definitely going to just let this car smash this guy, and it's going to be awesome. The movie theater was packed, and if I probably wasn't packed, I probably would have cheered of excitement. When he died, because he did kill Felix, which we, R.I.P. Felix, R.I.P. Jeffrey Wright, awesome actor.
Yeah, he was really good in that role, and he was in Casino Royale, right?
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, I think he was in a couple others. He was in the others as well, just kind of one-off guys.
Yeah.
Always helping Bond out. Bond helps him out. So sick.
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm fixing something.
No, you're good.
All right. Where were we? Let me get this.
In the woods. Basically, this is when Madeline and her daughter get kidnapped pretty quick.
Yeah. That's right. They get snatched
easy.
by they get snatched by what's his name? Rami Malek.
Safin, yeah.
Yeah, because he tracks her down, and then basically they have to leave because they show up to the house, and basically what happens is that they get in the car and they just dip. They dip the scene, like they're done, and so they're driving in the car, and I remember that this is one of the best chase. Honestly, this whole action sequence in the forest is one of the best in the film.
It was long. It was pretty long, and there was also like 1 million cars and motorcycles, and then a helicopter. So like, holy shit! Like, why are they chasing? Like, I was so confused too. I was like, so they really want to kill Bond, or they really want to capture the daughter or Madeline for some reason.
Yeah.
That part. Of course, they probably just want to kill Bond because everybody wants to kill Bond. But a little overkill. And I'm surprised they still, like whatever car Bond was using, worked out well.
Yeah.
He made good distance, and eventually, they kind of hit away in the forest. But of course, somebody's going to get caught. But badass move, using the cable around the tree to annihilate the guy on the motorcycle, and eventually lead Weenie Hut Jr.'s to hit that trunk.
Yeah, dude, that was brutal.
Flying.
It turned into almost like Bond Rambo in the forest there.
Dude, that's a great yes. He was absolutely annihilating.
Yeah, that was an awesome. That was definitely probably my favorite sequence in the whole film. It was just like I love the shot, like the setting of like the forest and the trees was. Yeah, it was really cool.
Big fan of that one. And of course, I mean,
Oh yeah,
and
my
she
bad.
snatched up. It doesn't take long. I mean, this is really, you kind of have a feeling like it's going down, coming down to the wire. Especially, as he's talking to Q, they get in the jet, to meet up with the Royal Air Force, which is really convenient that the Royal Air Force, actually it's Norway, so that makes sense that it was up in Norway. That's easy to get one of those C-17s to Norway pretty easily. But yeah, this is kind of have a feeling it's coming down to the wire when she gets captured, and then of course 007 picks him up, and they're on the jet flying to Japan, or an island off of Japan.
Yeah, where we find out. So yeah, you're right. So they go. So he kills off, the CIA guy.
Weenie Hut Jr.
Yeah, Weenie Hut Juniors, and they run off with Madeline and Matilda. And so then Q and Bond and Nomi, basically, they find him at the old World War II base, like you said, right between Japan and Russia, it says. And they infiltrate.
Yeah, which is pretty sweet. Of course.
Yeah. Oh, this is a cool little setting too. I definitely agree. And you get so basically Bond, like they show up to the factory, and it's crazy because like you see what their agenda is here, and it's basically like they use the underground lab to build these bioweapons, and then they're gonna release them, I guess, and they can wipe out whoever they want with them. So
it really was, yeah. It was over as always,
and it just like the motive for it like just wasn't there because like it was just being used as a as a Bond film, and like it was using the excuse to have like, oh, the world ending catastrophe just because it was a Bond film. Like that was like the only excuse I feel like they could give like for why Rami Malek wanted to do that. But yeah,
it was cool. It had to tie in with something with Safin's father, with like the poison garden, which was cool. Like you're like, all right, kind of ties back into this character's childhood,
right?
But at the end of the day, like, was he living on that island? He had to be there for a while.
Yeah,
that island was being set up for a while, and he has to be pretty old, Safin's character, because.
Dude, that was the thing that made absolutely no sense to me.
No sense.
Because the continuity, and I noticed this, like, I feel like everybody noticed this watching the film, like, the continuity was so off with the ages between Madeline and Safin, like, because he is, like, supposed to be in his, like, 40s or 50s or whatever, and he's literally, like,
I guess
Rami Malek, who's like, well, Rami Malek's like 40, but like still, like he just looked too young for the part for what they were trying to sell. Because like he's supposed to be like an older guy, right? Like if he's, I don't know, it just seems strange.
Yeah, he's 40. I mean, I guess so.
And she's like Madeline, what, 30 something? It just seemed kind of like, and she was supposed to be a child. Like that was the thing.
Yeah, young Madeline knows how to pour a glass of wine, knows how to shoot a gun.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is getting a little silly.
Maybe she was, I guess we would say 10, and then since Safin, we'll put him in his 20s. Change of heart. He's got to be somewhat young. So I don't know, 30 years later, probably has to be. When Madeline's grown up and Safin. So I mean, he's probably. Who knows? I mean, I guess he's living out on that island.
Yeah,
might have some good fish in the sea. I don't know, but they got a good setup, and they also have so many workers. I don't know where they're getting all them.
Yeah, that is a great point. They have all these scientists that are just like, I guess, bribed into being silenced so that they can't speak out and say, "Hey, I'm working on an undercover project." I mean, yeah, it's not that hard to believe. I don't know. But I mean, maybe on the scale that they were doing it, like I feel like you wouldn't need all of that production, like especially with like maybe so with the nanobots, but like I don't know.
Crazy Russian scientists always are up for anything. But I like what you say too. How it's like Bond villain, especially for Daniel Craig's last one, where the villain is trying to kill the whole world. So makes it end all be all, which I was a big fan of.
And I mean, what was like one of the biggest complaints about Spectre that we had was that like they couldn't decide if they wanted Mr. Hinks to be the villain or if they wanted, Blofeld to be the villain. And this movie kind of gets trapped in that again, like, and they don't really give you a full fulfilling story with these characters in that sense. But, so we get, they go to this place and basically, we got
the double O. We got. I guess we would say 00 squared. In action, full time.
Right, because they rushed the... well, she gives him back the 007 name, I think, before this mission as, like, a sign of respect, which was a good way to end that little, subplot because, like, and I'm glad it didn't take over the movie, honestly, because, it's kind of a played-out story, like, of, the new person, taking over the old guard, like, kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
I feel like I'm happy that it just kind of was a side plot now that I think about it, because I know I said earlier that I wish they could have expanded on it, but now that I'm thinking about it, like, it kind of... they
did it well.
Yeah, it did its service, honestly. Like, yeah, it was okay. But yeah, so you get, that, and you get Bond basically trying to get back his daughter, and they show up and basically what happens is that they run through and Bond starts killing all the people and. I remember they bust into the lab and like they have all the doctors in the corner at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And this was one of those moments where it's like, okay, is this like the safest way to do this? So, you're in a biochemistry lab, like, but, definitely not using good lab protocol. But, it's, so Bond, kills him. And then you get the funny moment with Obatrev where he gets killed by Nomi. She kicks him off the thing into the vat of, I guess those are nanobots or whatever.
Yeah, the vat of acid, basically.
Yeah. And, it was funny. They had like that little exchange of dialogue where he's like, I'm going to wipe your whole race out or whatever. And it was just like, this is so unnecessary. It just, what?
He was kind of a cheesy character, but,
yeah, definitely cheesy.
Crazy Russian scientist.
Definitely cheesy. So yeah, he dies, and then Safin, basically he runs off with Matilda at first, and then she like bites his hand, and then he's like, "If you don't want my protection, then just leave." And she just runs down the hall,
which was adorable. I was a big fan.
I was like, okay, like what was the point of that? So she leaves, and then she just runs into Bond and Madeline like a little bit later. They basically, he gets them out, and then he's like, I gotta stay and open up the blast door, because their plan, MI6's plan, is to send missiles into this base as if like
so casual,
as if like the toxic stuff that they're doing there won't just spread everywhere, like, and the wind won't just blow it onto, Japan and Russia, which are right next door. Yeah. I just was like, really? We're going to send missiles? That's the best idea we can come up with to deactivate this? Okay.
It didn't really make sense at all.
Yeah. So...
But not surprised. Large world power just saying, fuck it, we're sending missiles.
Yes. And so, like, basically, since Bond has his MI, authorization, he can call in missile strikes. So he basically tells Q, we're going to need missiles on aisle 2 down here. So, basically he sends Matilda and Madeline off the island on a boat, and then, he gets his final goodbye with them. And because he has to open up the base so that they can fire the missiles through. Because if the missiles hit the blast shields, then it won't go in. Fair.
Right.
So, basically, Bond leaves them. He goes after Safin. Basically, has an awesome final charge scene where he goes up the stairwell, and it's a really well directed action sequence.
So I wanted to rewatch this scene just because, but I'm pretty sure it was all one clip where they tried to make it to be.
I think it might have been one shot,
which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it looked great, and
He's 53. He's still got it.
Right. He does. He looked good, man.
Got it.
And you know, he looked like he had done. It wasn't his first rodeo.
He takes another grenade. He takes like 4 grenades.
Yeah, he takes like a flashbang to the face. Yeah.
No, they throw one down. He tosses it back up, and you're like, hell yeah.
That's right. That was a funny little moment, actually.
4, you're like, holy shit, this guy's so fucked, but he's fine. He just uses the door. Yeah, his body count had to be at least up to maybe even the hundreds, especially with.
Well, at least it's all legal because he has that license to kill now.
Absolutely, yeah. I wonder if they even counted that beforehand.
Yeah, seriously. But
that awesome fight scene, of course, and then finally,
he gets this. He gets the Safin.
He squares up with Safin.
Yeah, and it was funny because he finds like the doll that like his daughter was carrying around, and he like picks it up off the ground, and then like he gets shot by Safin like while he's standing there. And like falls to the ground, and he's like clutching the toy like while he's like on the ground. And I was literally sitting there like, this is straight out of Bad Santa. They are literally doing. Yeah. I'm like, are they gonna kill off Bond with a Bad Santa? And the one thing I forgot to mention earlier, and I guess we'll get to it in a few minutes, but let me hold on to that thought. But basically, to wrap this up, you know, he basically fights Safin after he gets shot in the water, and then he breaks Safin's arm pretty easily.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal, but I like that. And then, you know, basically, after they fight, he scratches Bond in the face.
Yeah, with that little.
Yeah, while he's fighting. And basically what happens is that scratch ends up giving him the nanobots that kill his, you know, Madeline and his daughter. So, yeah, Bond's kind of screwed. He gets trapped here because now he can't go to them, right? Because he's got these nanobots on him. You know, if only Q would have given him a device that could have sent an EMP and deactivated electronic devices. If only. Oh, that's right. He did. He gave him a watch.
That's right. I didn't pick that.
That sends an EMP. And I was literally sitting there in the theater like, hello, buddy. Your watch.
Yeah.
The whole time, like unless the nanobots don't work, but how could they not work? If it sends an EMP, that destroys all electricity. And I'm assuming, I guess I'm assuming that these nanobots are powered by electricity, but they never explained that they were powered by anything else. So I just assumed.
Not at all.
So plot hole there.
Plot hole there.
And there's another plot hole, but which I'll get to. But yeah, this was definitely. Yeah, he gets scratched, and basically he has the nanobots on him, and yeah, he could have used the watch, and he didn't. But anyway, so he basically, after he gets scratched, he goes like ultra turbo mode and just puts 3 bullets in the head of Safin and calls it a day.
Yeah, he really just said, "See you later, Safin."
Yeah, and you know, then after that. You know, Bond realizes he's like, I'm screwed, like, because he's hurt.
Yeah.
He goes back up, and like, and then the silo gets, because that's right, the silo opened up, and then he opened it up, and he had to go back because Safin closed it before they got into that altercation. So he closed it, and then he had to go back and open it up, and that's what ultimately costed him a lot of time. But I'll get into that. You know, they basically, he calls on the missile strike. Well, he called on the missile strike actually before he fought Safin, because that's what like created the time crunch. So he called on the missile strike. He got 9 minutes, and then he killed Safin, and now, you know, he's running to go close the door.
Open it back up again. Yeah.
But then he like gives the call to
he knows.
Madeline,
he knows,
and well, eventually, the first he gives it to 007. He gets in contact with her, and she gives it to Madeline, and then basically he tells her that he's gonna die, and you know,
I'm tear jerking.
Really? Did you cry?
I was tearing up.
Yeah.
It was good. It was really good. And
so,
I mean, it was sad. You knew to now, like it was confirmed. Matilda was his daughter.
Yeah.
Which you had a feeling the entire time. But now it's official.
Yeah.
So it's really.
So then the missiles get launched. He looks out into the sky, and then
you see him.
get absolutely leveled. But the one thing I noticed, plot hole that I noticed was that when the missiles are fired, you only see them hit the base. He easily could have run in any direction on the island into the forest and avoided the explosions and then at least waited it out and then found some sort of comms device he could use to get in contact with people. And on top of that, use his EMP watch to deactivate the nanobots. Boom. He's alive. But hey, we got to send him off right? By killing James Bond.
Obliterated.
Aye. I couldn't believe it. But I could because actually I had a feeling he was going to die. Now look, I didn't see any of the... I saw one of the trailers, but I didn't know anything about the movie going in. But the one thing that made me know he was going to die was a line that Blofeld said when they were in the interrogation room. And he says, "You're going to have to die for it." And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, man.
It was known.
I'm like, he's going to die. They're going to kill him.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this movie should really be titled... And I saw this on Twitter, and I thought it was funny, but this movie should really be titled No, Time to Die. That's what it should be titled.
Time to Die. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
No, Time to Die.
Oh, man. That's a good one. You're going to have to send me that on Twitter. It's funny.
But, yeah,
sad.
So, basically, yeah, Bond dies, which is crazy. I can't believe they killed him off, but, you know, it is what it is.
Like, they officially killed him off, which
right.
I was still, like, curious. So, like, ooh, so...
what do we do now?
Why don't we do this, like, with Connery? Why don't we do this with Pierce Brosnan?
Right.
Why don't we do it with any of these Bonds?
Why are we...
I guess is the test of time. You know, everybody loves a good, good Bond guy. I mean, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig was 6. So 6 total James Bonds. Probably 61 was 66, so almost, 60 years, 50 years worth of decade worth, basically 50 years worth of James Bond movies.
Yeah,
and now they're like,
it's the 25th Bond movie.
Yeah, when we're going to actually kill him off, which was fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't know why they were like, oh, probably keep making it, because everybody loves a good James Bond movie, and all these guys, they all basically look the same. Nice chiseled chins, good stern faces, and probably, know how to work a gun. But, they kind of tied it off well. Of course, they made, they poured one out for James Bond. They said a good toast.
Yeah.
And I'll give a shout out to Q, Ben Whishaw, whatever his name is. Great Q. Honestly.
They made him gay. Did you hear that? They had the one line where he was having his dinner party, and they just kind of had like a one-off line where they retconned him to be gay. Yeah, because he was they made it really subtle, and I feel like they did that so they could chop it out and if they needed to. And it was literally just one line. He was like, they were like, "Can you look at these files?" And he's like, "Hang on," because he was setting up the dinner for dinner, and he's like, "Hang on," he's almost here, and he says he's almost here, meaning he was going on a date with another guy. Oh, and I was like, "Is that I'm like, I mean, is that really fulfilling?"
It has a bunch of cats too. That makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, it was interesting how they do that now, where they just literally just they did that in Loki as well, where they made Loki bisexual just in one line. It wasn't really even anything in his character.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. That's right.
And it's I'm fine with that, but it's what does it have to do with the story? I guess in that moment it was not that big of a deal, but with Loki I was more upset about it, because I was not even upset, but because it was literally one line, but it was I was more questioning it, because I'm like, okay, well, what's the purpose of this with the story? But with this, I guess it was whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really care. But anyway, the film basically ends with, MI6 meeting together, Moneypenny. M basically just to sit here and eulogize James Bond, even though he was part of the reason he died in the first place, because his freaking technology killed James Bond.
Right.
Essentially. Because that's what caused him to have to stay.
I was expecting a way longer poem from M, but it was not. It was very, very... very short.
Mellow, yeah. It was
work on your obituaries, the eulogies. My bad. Work on your eulogies, M, because he's definitely gonna have to give a lot more. And
M was totally botched in this movie, but
yeah.
And
of course, casually just telling other countries' governments, tell them something else.
Yeah,
We'll
he
tell
was
them
straight
in a
up
minute.
lying to these other countries too. Just shady,
What?
corrupt stuff, man. And yet he gets to walk scot free, just like Black Widow's mom. Same thing. If you saw, did you see that
I
movie?
never watched it.
You haven't seen it? Okay, never mind
I
then.
didn't watch it.
But
No,
yeah.
you're good. You're good. You're good.
Well, anyway, yeah,
You're good.
Black Widow's mom is essentially responsible for creating the this mind control stuff. It's the same kind of idea though. Like she just gets to walk away scot free at the end of the movie after she created a bioweapon, and now this guy gets to walk away. He funded this. He participated in this covert clandestine experiment with nanobot technology, and like he gets to just, and it killed James Bond, and he gets to just walk away. He doesn't get to he doesn't get arrested. He doesn't get to face trial. Nothing. Bruh.
Nothing.
Yeah, silly. But the movie ends with Madeline and Matilda driving down the same road that Bond and Madeline drove down at the beginning of the movie, and I think they drove down that same road at the end of Spectre. But yeah, that's the end of the film. Then it cuts to black, and yeah, the credits pissed me off.
I was pumped.
So I was watching the credits, and I was watching for one thing: a special tribute to the late Sean Connery and the late Roger Moore, who both died in between the making of this film, Inspector. There was nothing in the credits to eulogize their death, to remember their deaths. Nothing.
That's a good
Two
point.
of the most iconic Bonds. The original James Bond. Nothing.
And,
I found that very interesting.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
But
Good point.
yeah,
Good catch.
because I was like, okay, well, where's the Connery thing at? Because he just died literally this year, I think, or last year. It was in the last 10 months. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, basically.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that. I was like, really? Okay, Bond. You want to call yourself a Bond movie? You don't even want to pay tribute to the originals? And that's where it leads into my biggest issue with this film. Now that we're talking about kind of our final thoughts, this doesn't feel like a James Bond movie at all. This just feels like a spy flick because the character of James Bond doesn't really act like James Bond. They really lean into the relationship factor of him and Madeline in this film. There's so many scenes where he's like professing his love to her and like this really like sappy like dialogue. And I was sitting there like, this doesn't feel like something Bond would do. It just doesn't. It doesn't really like. The only thing that makes me think this is Bond is that it's Daniel Craig. Like the dialogue, the way he behaves in this film just doesn't feel like James Bond. It's not necessarily bad. It's just not Bond. So I don't think. Like, I think if you just completely reskinned this movie and had like same actors, but literally just like different character names and different names of things,
right?
And made this just a generic spy movie, it would have been really great. But James Bond comes with so much baggage, narratively, the character, the way, the writing, it all comes with a lot of baggage and a lot of expectations. And if the film doesn't have that feeling, then it's gonna stick out in that sort of way. And that's just how it felt to me personally. But I mean, I can totally understand how people would love this film because it has great action. It's really good looking. It's really well acted. It's just, for me, the story, again, same kind of problem I had with Spectre, only I thought this was better done, but just like because of the action. But just for me, it's just like it didn't feel very fulfilling because it didn't feel like Bond. Bond crying and complaining about his feelings, just like that's not James Bond to me. Like that's fine. Like if you want to make a character that's vulnerable like that, I don't have a problem with that. But like, don't make it James Bond. That's not James Bond. James Bond is confident. He's suave. He's but he's also he's willing to take advantage of people to get to a means, to get to a goal. And it's like, you just didn't get really any of that sense in this film. And you hadn't, I mean, and you got it. And also the charm of James Bond was something that I really missed in this entire Daniel Craig series. Craig just kind of lacked the charm of some of the original Bonds. And I mean, I know they were kind of going for that in the original, in Casino Royale, but I mean, as the films went on, it just, he didn't really show very much personality.
More cold. Yeah, more cold.
He was very cold, I agree. Which, for Bond, he needs to be a little bit more, wittier.
The charming.
And that comes down to the writing. I don't even blame Daniel Craig as much as I just blame the writing for some of these films. But, and especially on the latter end.
I will say, why it probably doesn't feel like a Bond movie is because it was a setup for whatever they have planned for, the new Double O. They're definitely going to bring in Paloma because Paloma's still
Yeah.
around. So
Do
definitely
you think they're gonna
set.
make another movie attached to this, or do you think they're just gonna straight reboot Bond? I think they're gonna just straight reboot Bond with somebody else. Idris
I think
Elba, or they'll do like.
I think they'll reboot her. I mean, why would you not keep Lashana Lynch? Like, I thought she was great. Like, she definitely has that badass material.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, where do you go with this story, like, without James Bond? Like, that's the thing. Like, how do you expand this universe without James Bond? It's like, it just, I don't know. I don't really find any of those characters interesting enough to have their own standalone films. But I mean, if they do,
you make
they
a good
do.
point because
But
like who, like what, like I bet Ian
yeah,
Fleming is rolling over his
a
grave.
a
If there's gonna be
007 story.
yeah, exactly. Like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point,
I think they just got to straight. What I think they should do is just take a break from this IP for 10 years, or at least 5, at least 5 of just no James Bond. Just get it out of people's minds, and then come back with a hard comeback, a hard reboot in 10 years from now. But like,
yeah,
just to, do it all. And just keeps dragging on this story that just really wasn't honestly that interesting to begin with, in my opinion. I mean, this is just straight up, being very subjective, but
no, you're good. That's what we do.
but yeah, but yeah. I mean, it's just I was looking for a little bit more. There's a great movie in here. That's what I thought. That was like the first thing I thought when I walked out. I'm like, this could have been really great if it was about 25 minutes shorter. Really kind of focused on one villain. Kind of made this more of a contained story than trying to, and that's where I think, it kind of was James Bond right to do one of these kind of overarching stories where, it spans multiple films. Like, I think Bond works better in those contained stories where it's just, at point A to point B, and then you start over at point A for the next story kind of thing, where it's like, and more of an anthology than like, this connects into this and this connects into this, because it's like when you do that with this kind of fit, when you do it with these,
they kept
right,
each movie together, and you're like, wait, what?
Exactly.
What? Oh, that.
And there's so many like organizations and characters and like all this stuff that they try and throw in, especially in this film. Like they try to tie it all together, and it just is like James Bond just shouldn't be something that's tied in together. It should just be like, this is a story. This is a story. This is a story. And it can all be the same James Bond, and they can all be kind of loosely connected, just like they used to be. But it's like, make them their own thing. Like they're caught in the Hollywood syndrome of set up this to set up this to set up this to set up this, instead of being like, let's tell a great story. So yeah.
Give it in the reviews. IMDb 7.6, Rotten Tomatoes 84, and Metacritic 69. So not bad. Overall rating, I'd give it a 7. I'd honestly even 7.9, 7.8 maybe, 7.8 to 8 on a good day. So yeah, we'll call it 7.8.
Yeah. Okay. So I go out of 5. So I would probably go, but you can just double it. But I've been thinking about my grade for this ever since I saw the film yesterday afternoon, and honestly, like, I'm gonna go flat 3.5 out of 5 for this. I think it's a 3.5. I was sitting there thinking, is it good enough? Because I was like, I kind of want to. I don't think it's bad enough to be a 3. Like, I actually enjoyed the film, so like, but I just don't think it's rewatchable because it's so long. I mean, Spectre was long, and this is even longer. And it doesn't necessarily drag, but it's just like it's just too long for it's so good. Like, and it doesn't go anywhere, deep enough for it to really, warrant the length, in my opinion. But, yeah, well, so yeah, you said, what'd you say? Out of 10, 7.9?
7.9, yeah.
Yeah.
7.9.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was good. So yeah, and I go 7. So yeah, we're around the same.
But yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, but
let's check out this. What do you got? Reviews?
Oh yeah, you want to do this? So okay, this is called.
I had to plug my phone, and I was almost about to die.
Nah, you're good. Okay, so this is called reviewing reviews. So here, let me see if I can try and share my screen with you.
Ooh.
I don't know if this
is anything. I'll just pull up IMDb though.
All right, here we go. Oops. Here we go. Window.
I'm watching this trailer with no sound. I'm like, damn, this was was a big fan. Oh yeah, there it is.
All right, I'm sharing it with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull up that window now. Oh wait, now it's all weird. Oh well. Here, let's do it actually this way.
Oh.
Actually, yeah, you can actually just pull up IMDb because it's cutting off your camera. I just realized, my bad.
Yeah, you're good. I'll pull up IMDb. I
Yeah.
got my laptop still.
Yeah, you're good. I gotta pull this up anyway.
Reviews.
Yeah. Oops. Almost got it here.
Yeah, Paloma. Definitely gonna give this Ana de Armas Instagram follow after this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's definitely worth the follow. I'm sure.
Ooh, no time to fix this mess. Wow.
Somebody also, I was reading like one of the Culture Crave threads or something, and somebody was like, "Why isn't this movie called No Time for Child Support?" I was like, "Damn, that's actually pretty funny."
That's a good one, yeah. Even with that opening scene like that.
All right, cool. So I'm just gonna pull this up like this. Just go through some of these reviews.
Yeah.
Oops, let me center it up a little bit better. There we go. So we got some 1-star reviews here. Let's see
what should I filter? I guess I could filter probably.
Yeah, filter to 1-star, and then I mean I'll end up reading these anyway, so you can listen to them. I read the spoilers. Yeah. Unaware, will not watch this film. What's happening to movie making? Trying to destroy every classic. How so? This was worse than The Living Daylights. Never thought that was possible. Complete rubbish. PC Bond. I mean, I get that because he wasn't really, hitting on girls and being, promiscuous. So I get why people would say that, how they've kind of, chopped his balls off in a way. I guess you could make the argument, but whatever.
Somebody tied it to the 007 video games, and they said it's so shallow and hollow. So tired to watch cliched scenes repeat itself again and again. I'm like, all right. I thought it was cool.
It is better to die rather than destroy Bond's name. Some advice to the crew of production: read at least one James Bond book and get the personality of him. Watch at least any James Bond movies except Daniel Craig's. Get a psychologist as assistants that guide you about the personality of characters.
Ooh,
especially about James Bond and Madeline.
We got somebody who's just pissed that the new 007 is a woman. When 007 is played by another character for 3/4 of the movie, it is no longer a Bond movie.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, just because it's 007 doesn't make it not a Bond movie. But yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying because it's like, yeah. And I mean, that's kind of one of my complaints with this series is like that with the Daniel Craig is that he's never actually like really Bond like for very long at all. All right,
let's check out.
Yeah, let's go to like 2. We can go to 2-star. We can do a 2-star, and then we'll
go to 2-star. I went up to 7.
Oh.
I went up to 7. I'll go to 2. I'll go to 2, and then we'll go to 7.
We'll just do one. We'll do 1 or 2 apiece, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't understand the script. Man, 2 hours and 40 minutes of this drudgery. What to say? It drags on until the finale, and you're done by then. How much can you tell the same story over and over again and get results? It done, brother. Yeah.
I just read that one. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I dozed off. It was a long weekend. I think I dozed off at Christoph Waltz's part.
Yeah.
And then some other time, but I mean, I was like, I should be fine.
I do get what he's saying though about telling the same story. It's like always, what was it? Bond. What was I think Quantum of Solace was like what something from Bond's past that comes up, and then he has to deal with it, and then like Skyfall was like something from M's past, and then this is something from Madeline's past. So it's like it's always some demon from somebody's past coming up and causing problems. Here's a 3-star. Worst Daniel Craig outing as Bond. Directing is okay. The script is woefully bad. And add in some awful acting. That sums it up. I disagree with the acting. I thought that was actually pretty good. The acting was really good in this movie. A few action scenes are washed from the memory thanks to the woke rubbish. Cubby Broccoli once said his daughter will never let the real world change the character. Sorry, Cubby. This isn't Bond and they lied to you. Oh, and the title track is Blood Awful. Rip Commander Bond.
Ooh, here's
Damn.
a good one. So I moved, went up to the 7 stars, but just to look, because kind of that's where our rating put it. Spectre 2, longer and better. That would have been the title, I guess. Daniel Craig stood out for many reasons. As a result, this final chapter carried some real weight. I cared how this version of Bond would end, even when cars were exploding or silly one-liners were being uttered, which I even laughed at when he was like, "Hey, Q, I showed somebody your watch." Blew their mind. I was like, all right, that's cheesy, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah.
Here we go. Wait, this one might be
Definitely a good idea, TJ. I like this. This is not a bad
Lame
idea.
Bond. Here we go. All good things. Here's a 4-star. Lame Bond. All good things come to those who wait. Not in this case. This has got to be the most boring Bond film ever. Embarrassingly low on action for a film that's nearly 3 hours long. I do agree with that. This movie could have used an extra action scene in there, I believe. Daniel looks old, tired, and fed up. I can see that. But he was good in the film. Add a female black 007 and Q's male dinner date, and you'll know where the priorities are going. I think they should retire Mr. Bond permanently, but they won't, sadly, because this will break all box office records. Yeah, he's kind of right there. It will. And yeah, there's going to be more of these films, unfortunately. I do agree that like they should end it. Like, come up with some new characters and some new stories. Like, instead of recycling, James Bond, like, at least wait some time before you get back into this. Here we go. Let's see.
Box Office Mojo.
Here's a 5.
Weekend, yeah, 55 million.
So. Is that how much it's made? 55 million?
Yeah, I guess concluding
in the U.S.
For the weekend. Yeah, domestic. Yeah, I don't know why it's only showing me domestic at once.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, well, I gotta click on country.
Here's a 5-star. Aging James Bond defies Me Too era. The film is way too long. The plot is a complete mess, and I didn't understand what the villain was doing. Craig looks old and unattractive, getting any sexual tension in an air of disbelief. Diehards will love it probably, but it's not an improvement over Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, or Spectre. Series is undergoing an identity crisis. What happens when a new actor is appointed? Not least, Craig's casting itself indicated that the producers wanted to change the direction, but none of the films are rewatchable. Yeah, ugly and vulnerable have not improved the Bond character.
People. I mean, I get it. Like you made some good points. How it's like a good spy movie. Like you very well could put this on mute.
Oh, totally.
It'd be a great spy movie. Turned out total worldwide, they're at 321 million. So they made their money back at least, so they're happy.
Well, actually, I read that they're 900 million in the hole on this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of loans that they got.
Of just everything. That would make sense.
Yes, because the loans and the interest on the loans that they got for making the film, the lockdowns, all of that has played into them being down 900 million in the hole. Yeah, I think you can look it up.
The budget of 300 million is probably like what you're saying.
That was probably the upfront budget. They went way over budget because this movie was supposed to come out at the end of 2019, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah,
2 years ago. We'll do like a 10 review here, and then I want to rank the Daniel Craig Bond films, both of us, rank them, and then we'll get out of here. We'll do 110 here. So here we go. Best Bond film ever. Over the last 2 years, I've watched every Bond film. Some for the first time, but most were rewatches. Having now seen all 25, I have come to some conclusions that not everyone will agree with. Here are my thoughts. This one's really long. Here, let's do this. Here, let's do this one instead, because that one's like 5 paragraphs. Incredible conclusion. No Time to Die is an incredible conclusion to Daniel Craig's run as 007 that's suitably epic, thrilling, and fun, whilst being surprisingly extremely emotional and tying up as many loose ends as it can. Daniel Craig is reliably perfect once again with plenty of charisma. Lee Seydoux, Lashana Lynch, Ben Winshaw, blah, 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 are all great. The whole cast. Rami Malek is good. Ana de Armas is really great. Yeah, this is just saying, Cary Fukunaga's direction is fantastic. It's beautifully filmed, stylish. I do agree with that. This film was really well shot. Hans Zimmer, the Zimmer score was fine. And then Billie Eilish, who I thought was, not terrible. But, so... this film was pretty decent overall, in my opinion. So before we get out of here, where would you rank all of the Craig Bond films?
Yeah, so top one, but I think also pretty standard. I was actually a bigger, so number one, No Time to Die. I'm going to take that there. It moved up there. It was awesome. My buddies are seeing it tonight. Just overall action, like you said, like even though it was 2 hours and 40, almost a 3-hour movie, went by, I think, pretty quick. Might have been because I snoozed off a little bit there. But, I mean, all these movies kind of have a little slow part here and there.
Totally, yeah, because they got to build it up, yeah. Right.
So I got No Time to Die. I was actually a bigger Skyfall fan than Spectre. So but that's not my second one. Second one's still Casino Royale, absolute badass. Then Skyfall, then Spectre, and honestly, I've never seen Quantum of Solace. I just completely like. So you
think this is your favorite of the Craig Bond movies?
Of the Craig Bond movies, I'm taking.
You like this even better than Casino Royale,
right? And that's that. I think that's
why?
Why? Because Casino Royale just like ends so randomly. It's just like the backstab like leads into all these movies, of course. But like, when you first watch it, and even when you still watch it, like I still watch it, and I'm like, awesome. Like he's in Venice, everything's great.
Yeah.
Nope, she backstabbed him. So that kind of pissed me off, especially like back then. Like, so confused. I was like,
it was a great twist. I thought.
I was like, that's not how these Bond movies are supposed to end. But like even how we were debating on like who's the real villain in this movie, same thing with Casino Royale. Like they still had we had Matt Mikkelsen in there, but I feel like even there's like this character that comes in at the end. So you're like, I guess I really should probably watch Quantum of Solace to tie that in.
It's probably the shortest Bond movie. It's only like an hour and 48 minutes long, which is not bad at all. It's pretty rewatchable, but I mean, again, it's so forgettable. Like the villain is so bland. Like Rami Malek blows him out of the water in this movie, and he gets like half the screen time that guy did.
Yeah,
and that's saying something.
I'm a huge fan of Javier Bardem.
Yeah, he's great.
He jumps up there. He jumps up there for 3. Skyfall being 4, and then Quantum of Solace being 5. So, What about you, T?
So I'll rank mine. So I'll start at number 5. 5 would be Quantum of Solace for me, my least favorite. I wasn't really that big on this movie. It's forgettable, to be completely honest with you.
I'm gonna have to watch a trailer just because.
Yeah, I mean it's got a sleek look to it, but again, like some of the action, the way it's directed is like really like it was during that time where like every film had like the super shaky, like intense, like Bourne looking camera, because this movie we're trying to emulate Bourne in a lot of ways. So it's like the Jason Bourne movies, which almost kind of was a detriment, in the long run, but They tried to emulate that style, and so they had like a lot of those close quarter like shaky cam, and it just didn't really work for me. That action, it looked really like sloppy at times, and the story just wasn't that interesting. Yeah, kind of a blah movie. Then after that, I'd probably go Spectre. We talked about it ad nauseum. It's an okay movie. It's a little too long.
A little too long. Yeah.
The action just wasn't that exciting in it. Outside of the train fight sequence with Mr. Hinks, that was a great sequence, but outside of that, in the Mexico City stuff was okay, but kind of forgettable. It's almost as forgettable as Quantum of Solace. And then at number 3, I have this movie, No Time to Die. Yeah, I was, I was expecting to really not like this movie, and I thought it was pretty good. So, yeah, it could have been a lot better if they actually made it more targeted for a James Bond film, instead of trying to, go for this relationship, route. So, that was whatever. But overall, I thought the film was fine, and yeah. But that was my number 3, and then number 2, I have Skyfall. I really love this movie. I think it's the prettiest of the Bond films. I think it's the best shot. Sam Mendes did a pretty good job with this film, man. I thought the villain, Javier Bardem, was really good as the villain. This had a lot of the good, like, inside MI6, like, drama, internal drama of MI6 that I thought was really compelling. So yeah, there was a lot to love there in that film. But it's not as good as my number 1, which is Casino Royale. This movie was an absolute spearhead for its time. I mean, it was such a gritty interpretation of a character that, had gotten so silly and campy at that time, to come out and make this film that was just hard-edged.
Don't talk about Pierce like that.
Well, I love Goldeneye and some of the earlier ones, but his later films, I haven't seen them, but I heard they are really, like, goofy.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
He takes on North Korea.
Yeah, I heard that was really silly. So I don't know. I haven't seen it, but so maybe I'm wrong, but
it's not. It's okay.
But yeah, basically, they had never seen Bond done like this, where he was super, cold, like almost like an assassin more so than like a suave, smooth-talking spy. So that with the incredible action, the best villain in Le Chiffre, who was super compelling and had a real motivation and had real stakes in the game. So when you see things go down, there's a lot of weight to the situation, because you actually kind of understand Le Chiffre's position, like unlike with Rami Malek in this movie, where you're kind of wondering why he wants to kill everybody. Le Chiffre, he owes a lot of people a lot of money that are very dangerous, so he's like, he's on the hook for all this stuff, and it builds that nice tension between him and Bond, and it's not really even anything personal between them, it's just really business, which is really badass too. So and on top of that, the awesome tension that they build with the gambling scenes and all that. So yeah, it was a great film. And it's a shame they can never get back to that level again. But they got kind of close with Skyfall, because I thought that was pretty good. But again, I think it just got a little bit too bogged down in trying to be other things than just a Bond movie. It tried to be like a franchise, like a MCU, and it just like Bond doesn't work episodically like that. He works more like an anthology.
No. Which I'm looking like at all these other, what do you say, 25 of them. I'm just like looking at all these. I wonder if they're kind of similar. They probably have like the same, somebody's M, somebody's Q. They probably continue with those. But like, I mean, I bet all these, they all kind of, I don't think they follow each other. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's where these kind of Daniel Craig ones did have consecutive stories. Like, everything kind of did tie together in the Daniel Craig ones. Where I don't know. I don't think these did with the Pierce Brosnan one.
No, they didn't. I mean, they made references to the other movies. Like, they would, like, in a passing line of dialogue or something, they would be like, oh, I screwed up on that last time or a couple of times ago or something. Like, they would say something like that, but it was never like, oh, well, if you didn't watch that movie, you're not going to know what happens in this one. And that's how these kind of were. They were episodic. Like, and by Spectre, you're kind of like, okay, wait, like, what happened in the other?
Really.
And especially with this film, you were just like, I had to like go back and watch our podcast again to kind of remember even what happened and kind of put some of the pieces together. But yeah, I mean, I think we've said enough about this movie. It was decent at best. And it, it could have been a lot better in my opinion, but I mean, a lot of people enjoyed it, and it could have been a lot worse than it was. So
that's true.
That in and of itself is a success for them. So
I was happy with it. And if you guys are still tuning in, hopefully you saw it. But if you didn't see it, you should go out and see it. It was definitely recommend.
But yeah, thanks for doing this with me again. And I'd love to do this again now that I've got the whole deal set up and I have the whole what do you call this? The one-on-one not even, I don't even like calling it an interview. So like, you know, just
give
like
me
a discussion.
Anytime, you know, I'm hungry though. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I got to go get some dinner. Yeah, we've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes. So yeah, I think we've done enough talking about Bond. Let's go get some dinner. Yeah, thanks for doing this. Anything you want to share or plug before we go?
No, thanks for having me.
All right, awesome.
Everybody.
Yep, all right. Thanks, peace, everybody. Follow me on everything, and deuce.